Hey, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever and whenever you are listening or watching this podcast episode. Today is another Q&A episode. Got a great question here. It seems like you're an expert in choline. Well, thank you very much. I've never been told that before, but I appreciate it very, very much. Would it be better to take lecithin, which converts to choline, or just go straight to choline? There's a second question here, but I'm going to save that for another episode because this one's going to be kind of involved. So how I want to go with answering the question is basically describe what is lecithin first, or at least how I understand it, and then go into what is choline, and then go into what I think, which one's better. So in general terms, lecithin is like a combination of different phospholipids. So then, okay, Howard, what's a phospholipid? Well, phospholipid is a component of cell membranes, including our cell membranes as humans. So extremely important. I'll pop a picture up here of phosphatidylcholine, but they're different phospholipids. Like I said, it's a mixture of different phospholipids. So there's phosphatidylcholine, there's phosphatidylethylamine, phosphatidylserine. There's different ones. Phosphatidylcholine, again, being like the most abundant one, to my understanding. So it's kind of describing what it is. You have a glycerol backbone. I'll highlight it there. And then off that glycerol backbone, you have two fatty acids. So it's actually a diglyceride. So you have this straight fatty acid here. That is a saturated fatty acid because the molecule is essentially straight. Not really, but it's in a, I guess you could say, conformation of a straight line. And it's basically just a long chain of hydrocarbons. So you have carbon atoms, and then hydrogens are saturating the carbon atoms. And then next to it, you have this kind of fatty acid that's kind of bent, what's called a kink. That is a unsaturated fatty acid. The reason being is that in the picture here, it is monounsaturated because between two carbons, there's a double bond. And because of that double bond, it causes the molecule to bend. So that is unsaturated fatty acid. All right. Now, up above the glycerol backbone, you have a phosphate group. And then on the top of the phosphate group is bound choline. So that is where you could say that phosphatidylcholine and choline are related, but they're not the same. The reason why I say that is because, as I just said, kind of a general definition of lecithin is like a mixture of different phospholipids. Well, depending on what source you're getting it from, the definition, who you're watching or listening to, what resource you're reading, sometimes, and I've seen this, phosphatidylcholine, one of the phospholipids, it can be referred to as lecithin itself. So just keep that in mind that sometimes when lecithin is used, that it's actually meant phosphatidylcholine. All right. So that's like a general definition. Again, the lecithin is the mixture of the different phospholipids, or it could mean just phosphatidylcholine. So that's kind of describing what lecithin is. Now, choline, which again is part of the phosphatidylcholine molecule, I'll point it out again. All right. Choline is an essential nutrient, basically meaning we need it. All right. So there are three benefits that I've talked about before of choline. One being is it is used to make phosphatidylcholine, what we just talked about, right? Which is, again, used to make the membranes of cells. It's in the process, the actual process to where choline is converted into phosphatidylcholine is called the Kennedy pathway, right? Another benefit of choline is that it is metabolized in the body into betaine, aka trimethylglycine. Now that can be important for heart health because in the normal metabolism of methionine, okay, so methionine is an amino acid. When the body normally metabolizes it, it gets converted into homocysteine. All right. Now, high homocysteine levels, and that can be due to like genetic issues, etc. I believe it's called hyperhomocysteinemia, is a risk factor for cardiovascular disease. So not good. Right? So trimethylglycine can actually be used. I believe the enzyme that catalyzes the reaction is BHMT, betaine homocysteine methyltransferase, if I remember right, where a methyl group from trimethylglycine gets put to homocysteine, converting homocysteine back into methionine, thus helping to keep homocysteine levels down. And so choline could also be heart healthy as well, or contribute to heart health. So good deal. And last but not least, with choline is it is a substrate to make acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter slash neuromodulator in the brain. I believe it's called the nucleus basalis. That area of the brain, there are dense bundles of cholinergic neurons. That means that is where choline is taken up into the neurons, and then it is converted into acetylcholine there. And then from there, those neurons then innervate, meaning they kind of spread out into the brain, like into the prefrontal cortex, which is where you get like your focus, attention, etc. I believe it also innervates to the hippocampus, which is involved with memory. I am not a neurologist or anything like that, so I'm just going strictly off of the basic knowledge of that I have. But that's how essentially you can say, like a supplement company or that can say, oh, we have choline, we have alpha GPC, or we have choline bitartrate to help with focus, because the idea is you're taking in the choline, it's adding that substrate that can then get into the neurons in that nucleus basalis to create acetylcholine, and then those neurons innervate into those areas, kind of like spread out into those areas involved with like memory, focus, attention, etc. So all really, really good. So I wanted to get all that out of the way in case anybody's watching this that really wasn't aware of what lecithin is versus what choline is. Appreciate it. Love y'all. Take care. Bye-bye.